Hello, Perspective Outreach listeners. We are back and we are talking and adding to our playlist regarding relationships. Vessel has done a nice introduction to talk about Adam and Eve. And now, today, we're going to talk with John Baker, who is going to elaborate on relationship from his perspective. So, John, we are very eager to hear what you have to say. The podium is yours.
Okay, fine. Thanks very much. There's an interesting saying I heard recently, which said that strangers are just friends you haven't yet met. And I thought that was lovely. Strangers are just friends you haven't yet met. And I think we need to think about that. Thinking about relationships, I've started thinking about the various stages we go through in order to form a good relationship, whether it's a very, very close relationship like a man and wife, or whether it's just just a couple of guys going having a beer together or whatever. But first of all, there's a complete ignorance of one another. You don't know one another exists. And then you come across aware of one another in some way or other. And then as you see this other person, you become aware of an interest in the other person. They seem to have the same sense of humor. They make you feel good because they always laugh at your jokes, which is very rare for me. But so you get an interest in the other guy. You like to be with him. And then you get you're aware of your desire to develop a relationship. We're not talking necessarily about a sexual relationship, but just a good, share, buddy, chums relationship. And then you think about it, say, we take action to achieve and develop this relationship. But as you do so, whatever way you choose, you focus on developing and improving a relationship. And I want to suggest that in between these steps, there is what I call danger gaps. Gaps of, I've got something else to do. Or we ought to do that, but, we will do it later, And it never, ever happens. And I want to read a case study I read, which happened to me a number of years ago. And if I get a bit cheerful, then you'll understand why. It's about a guy who, my wife and I lived in a little village just near Oxford, and all the churches there's the Roman Catholic Church, the Anglican Church, United Reformed Church, and there was a evangelical church. We all did our own thing, but we all worked together on various things. And one of the ways we worked together was for supporting a Christian charity, Christian Aid. And every year, there's Christian Aid Week, and we take up a collection for Christian Aid. And I always made a point of selecting my own street where I worked, where I lived. And so I used to go around talking to people. It was a good way of getting to know your neighbours as well, of course. And one year we met a guy, and I penned this case study, if you like, about friendship. Here we go. To Norrie, who almost became my friend, but now it's too late. Oh, by the way, thanks for the donation to the cancer charity. It was a few years ago that the orbit of our lives overlapped, just long enough to give you an invitation to the cancer charity coffee morning, for you to tell me you couldn't make it, but perhaps I'd like a donation. Long enough for me to learn your name, Norrie. It crossed my mind that we should take nice time to get to know you and invite you to another search event. You seemed a really nice chap. I told my wife as much. However, as always, the business of life robs us of our good intentions, and months turned, it soon passed into years. One night we were returning from some event and some unusual activity was going on the road. A police car, an ambulance, another vehicle I didn't recognize at first were parked near our house. I was angry because the last vehicle had been parked on the grass, our grass, probably churning it up. It was then I saw it was a hearse. As we watched from a respectable distance, we saw two men come out from a nearby house, bearing a stretcher, carrying a body. Probably some old chap who died of a heart attack, I thought. A little while later, we were having dinner with some friends, and the events of that night came up. Yes, said a friend, poor old Norrie killed himself. He'd had a mental breakdown some years ago. Now, what do you have to do to become my friend? To attract my attention? Some people tell me lies in order to gain my sympathy, and it usually works. Norrie just told me his name and demonstrated his generosity. Wasn't that enough? Now, That's actually true, and every word I say there that actually happened, and it makes me just get dewy-eyed when I think about it. Um, I'm thinking about it. What was the part? What was this? I talked about the danger gaps, the gaps in inactivity. Where did we go wrong? We made up our minds. My wife and I made up our minds to check up on him and talk to him and invite him round for a meal, perhaps. But if we had done, what difference would it have made in his life? So I'll leave that with you, dear listeners. Maybe that'll help you to build up a relationship with somebody who desperately needs a friend to be with you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, John. I think that relationships in all its paradigms, friendship is very important. And the mutual trust that a friendship has in someone's life is probably one of the building blocks in relationships, because you share innermost intimate things with that friend. You can trust him. And sometimes he's just an ear to listen to when you are going through very difficult times, because not everybody listens.
Yes.
So it's interesting what you highlighted in your talk regarding the friendship, and how are you trying to gain friendship by either telling a story or a lie or telling somebody something to impress him in order so that he can become your friend.
Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking about it. I look around. I've had many friends in my life. I have to say, many of them just got to know me because they wanted to show off themselves, because they know that I'm a bit of a soft touch. So they wanted to just prove how wonderful they were. One guy I got very friendly with, and if I was telling him a story, he would sort of laugh and joke, and I thought, oh, why don't you wait to let me finish my story? And I realised, he was just wanted to show off himself. He used as a sort of sounding board, as it were. No, that's not a true friend. But
yeah, I've experienced in my life where friendships, they claim to be your friend, but only they seem to be the ones talking. They don't allow you to talk, or they want to dominate conversation. You need to sit there and listen. Or sometimes I've had friendships where they're just your friend because they want to see what they can get out of you. For them, you look to them like a prospect where they can benefit. I've had those type of friendships also. But the true friendships I've experienced in my life, which I'm very grateful for, is I call sort of like my brothers, because they're the ones that stuck with me despite all the difficulties in life. Because I've noticed, I've had friendships as well where when you are prominent and when you are successful and prosperous, you seem to attract many friends, but they only stick around with you as long as you're prosperous. The moment the prosperity disappears, they disappear. I've experienced that as well. And you've gone from a long list of friends to literally zero because they were just your friend because of your prosperity. So, and the dear friends I call my brothers, they stick with you, long-term friendships. They know everything about you. They know your weaknesses, your strengths. And they're the ones that usually pray for you, and the ones that you can depend on when there's an emergency. Well, they're the ones that you call them. Yeah.
So I use the internet quite a lot to look at what other people are writing, and I Googled the song, what's the elements of a healthy relationship? I found a very interesting article here about communication, boundaries, consent, trust, honesty, these independence and other things, equality, support, some responsibility, healthy conflict, safety, and fun. And these are 12 elements of healthy relationships by Molly Hutchinson, health education specialist and education coordinator. So if you're interested, anybody interested in doing that, suggest you Google 12 elements of healthy relationships. You can probably get that quite easily.
And Wessel, do you have anything to add regarding friendships and relationship?
I just think one thing of friendships that is that I found in my life that was very disturbing to me is that time and distance makes sometimes friends go away.
Yeah.
If you don't make time, and if you don't visit or you make a definite arrangement, then it seems like it is just fizzling away, and then maybe the person catch up with you again 5 years or 2 years later and say, "How are you?" But it's not the same ever again. So relationships, friendships needs to be maintained, and that is all I can say. I think it's and friendship's got a price, a friend in need is a friend indeed, So a friendship's got a price. Sometimes it'll ask something of you. I try not to ask anything from friends, meaning demanding anything from them. But if a friend really asks you for something, are you willing to sacrifice or give time? And I mean, money and things or a lot of things are easy, maybe for some people, not for everybody. But the one thing that is running out is time.
Yeah.
So time and this is, for me, is two things that I found in some of my relationships. I'm so sad I have lost a friend through time and distance, and I must admit I have lost a friend through time and distance. I mean, there were some interactions, but nothing, one could have discussed any problem. But time and distance that destroy some friendships. It's just not destroy; it just fizzles away almost. It just goes away. This is something that I have noticed. So maintain your friendships.
I found this very much when I was living in South Africa. The number of times I used to go back to UK where I used to live and try to pick up friendships, and it was. It's weird, And I remember one guy I used to have a great time in a coffee shop, and we called ourselves the Romeo Club, really old men eating out, And we used to have a great time when I lived in the UK. And then when I got back, it was, just as if I was a complete stranger. Worse than that, really. And I followed him out. He left one session. I went out and said, "Andrew, what's the matter? Was there something wrong? Something I said?" And he said, "Oh, no. I just didn't know you were coming." But it just, I don't know, the friendship had just died. So you've got to put some work into that to keep it going, It's a bit of a shame, really. Because, I think women do this better than men. Nola often says to me, "Well, I met a friend of mine I hadn't seen for 10, 20 years. Just as if we hadn't met, I'd only met last week, we just carried on where we left off." Well, I wish men could do that, But anyway, there we go.
It's interesting because what you're saying, time and distance with friendships, if you don't sacrifice or nurture it, I've experienced that myself as well. I had friends which declared me as their brother, and I went to their weddings as the best man. And today, I don't see them at all. And they don't bother phoning you. They don't bother checking in and say, "Hey, how's it going?" But if I don't make the effort, which I try and do, just to make contact and just to find out how they are, then I don't hear from them. So it takes sacrifice, it takes work, and you're right, it's not the same anymore. That dynamic, that friendship, that spark seems to have faded. Well, thank you, guys. Thank you, John, for sharing your thoughts. And Wessel, thank you for your contribution as well. This is a new playlist, dear listener, of relationships that we felt the Lord prompt us to start talking about. And we're going to go through the whole spectrum of relationships, whether it be marriage, friendship, corporate relationships, temporary to permanent friendships, whatever it is, that's what we'll talk about. And we hope that there will be some knowledge and wisdom instilled in these discussions.
It might be useful to see the relationships Jesus had with each of his disciples,
Indeed. And there will be some biblical truth also backing these friendships. As Jesus and how he handled people and his apostles, and how he treated his enemies also. They're very interesting. Relationship is also about your enemies. Dear friends, have a blessed week. Reach out to us in the email at the end credits of our videos, and we'll catch you next time. Blessings.
Thanks so much, guys.